Alright, so this video actually is thanks to a subscriber who actually reached out and asked a question, which is actually something I have out there for all of you to do. If you have a question, you can always leave a comment or the question below the video that you're watching. You can always send me an email, which is obviously included in the last page of each of these videos, also on the first page here. Or if you happen to have my cell phone number, you can text me or however you'd like. But in the end, if I get a question from a subscriber, it very likely will become a video. So with that, let's get. So first, I thought we'd just review the question sort of in its entirety, sort of just cut and paste from my email. I'll obviously provide my thoughts. And then I want to really, again, sort of highlight that you're a subscriber to this channel. Please know that I want to hear from you. Ask questions, leave comments. I want to know what's on your mind, what you want to hear about. As again, my sole intention with this channel is not to create videos; it's to help people. So, and I track how well I'm helping people by how many subscribers. So, please ask your questions. Also, please help me increase the channel by sharing this with others who might be looking at becoming a landlord or rental properties, or just thinking about investing in properties. So here's the question. Again, just cut and paste. It says, I'd like to see a video on some of the necessary renovations when rehabbing an apartment and some things that may seem like splurging and not so necessary. I find myself buying a lot of quality fixtures and my wife is constantly arguing against them and calling them excessive. So, I actually read this question last night. I think all of us probably have a gut instinct on sort of how to address this or what I think, but I thought we'd break it down. So first and foremost, I'll just get it out of the way. My first answer is actually the same one I had last night, but again, I slept on it, looked at it again this morning, and I don't know the market, I don't know the type of apartments, I don't know very much other than what you saw in the question. But you ask me a question, I give you an answer, and I think your wife's probably right. But again, I owe you and sort of the group here sort of how I break things down, how I think about remodeling, whether it's houses or apartments. So let's go that in detail, and maybe it will become obvious that either A, my gut instinct's wrong, because maybe there's something I'm going to share here that goes, no, that's why I do that. But also it will show you the logic I have to where I come down on the side that your wife's probably right. So when I think about remodeling or turning an apartment or a house, I believe quality landlords should only think about 4 things. Right? There's only 4 things that I think should go into the equation. Everything else should be ignored, quite frankly. First and foremost, health and safety. Whatever it is, you got to do it. Broken windows, teared up carpet, carbon monoxide, smoke detectors, leaks, whatever it is. If it's around health and safety, frankly, this might sound crass, but I don't care what it costs. Your job as a landlord is to provide a safe and habitable environment for your tenants. That's sort of your part of the contract, right? You signed up for this, so gosh darn it, do the right thing. All right, so that I'll get off my soapbox. But this health and safety thing, just one more thing, is not a joke, because there's a lot of properties I'm picking up now from what I've called in other videos some slumlord quality properties, and that's a shame, right? So don't do that. Don't be one of those. The other thing the next thing you should think about is what can get me more rent. So again, I don't know your market, I don't know your apartment types, but in the markets I'm in, there's really only a few things that can get me more rent, right? An additional bedroom, additional bathroom, and parking, right? Is it a garage? Is it a carport? Is it street? Those kinds of things. It doesn't matter if it has a waterfall shower. It doesn't matter if it has extra nice lights. It doesn't matter if it's got special light switch covers. It just doesn't matter, right? Those what gives me more rent are typically bedrooms, bathrooms, and parking. Okay. However, there are things that you can look at and go, hey, if I did this, it will shorten the time to rent. That's typically the one where people latch onto when they want to add extras. I want to do this because it'll help me rent it faster. Um, One of the things that I'm doing in a lot of my units, it's in houses, not in my apartments. In my market, apartments turn a lot more, but in my houses, I'm adding, taking out the Formica countertops and putting in granite or granite-like things, quartz, things of that nature. It's really catching the eye of tenants, which usually are families in houses, and that's really accelerating the time to rent. So again, it doesn't get me more rent per se, but it does shorten the time, right? In my houses, I'm bringing maybe 2 or 3 people through in these nicer units, and they're renting very quickly. Whereas if I just did the cheap laminate, stick and peel tile or whatever on the floor, it would take probably 8 to 10 people coming through, right? So these are things that I do add extras. I think that's certainly a consideration, right? Does it help me rent the place faster? The other thing that I'm starting to do is I'm looking for, hey, if I can shorten the time to rent, but also lower future maintenance cost, I'm very likely to do that. Let me give you an example. One of the things that I've started to do now, right, the last year or so that I didn't do before, is I'm only putting carpet in the bedrooms, right? I used to carpet the entire house with this cheap carpet that I would be fine with just replacing every time somebody left. But now what I'm seeing is if I just spent, it's usually about 2 to 2.5 times more, and I put in these laminate floorings through most of the house, I'm finding that I can really save ongoing turns, right? It lowers the future cost because the laminate floors will last, a decade even in a rental or more, where carpets, it could be gone in a year, right, if it's well lived in. So these are things that I certainly do. The other thing we do when we replace the countertops, for example, is we do undermount sinks. It just helps with potential leaks and other problems that can happen. So again, these are the considerations. Health and safety first. What gets me more rent? The one that you could probably discuss with your wife, not knowing your market or your things, is does it accelerate or shorten the time to rent, right? And how you judge that is, hey, if we're adding fixtures that allow me to rent it to the second or third person that sees it, where if we didn't have them, it would be 8 to 10 people. That's a fair discussion, and maybe in your market those extras help. If so, you could be right. But again, those are discussions to have with you and your wife, and your data better. The other thing is to think about maintenance costs. Some of these nice things are a little fragile, as you'll see in my next slide. But again, these are things to discuss because, again, you could be right. They may help, but again, just giving you what I think. The other thing is, what kind of market are you in, right? How do you compare to other like apartments, right? Are other apartments in your area, I don't know, doing two-tone paint, doing the fancy stainless steel faucets, and you look just out? Hence, your time to rent is slow. If so, then you've got to compete, right? You don't have to be better. And again, I don't know your market, but it's something to think about. How you compare. The other thing, as I just shared on the past slide, is my experience. A few times I put in nicer things, is they break faster. I don't know why. I guess they're just a little more fragile or not used to sort of being abused. But buying something that's nicer that lasts half as long isn't it, the average thing. That's just a recipe for disaster. The other thing is, it's not about what you think as the landlord, right? If you think it's cool or nice or hot or wish you had it in your house, just stop it. That's not what this game is about. It's immediately a non-starter for me. The other thing just to realize is this is a business for you. So every extra dollar you spend on nice things that return zero and more rent or speed is at least potentially wasteful. And that wasteful hurts your bottom line. Then the last thing just to acknowledge in this business is landlord, your yearly repair expenses is likely your largest cost. So don't add to it by having extra, unnecessary things that could break pretty easily. Those are my thoughts. So in the end, guys, please keep the questions coming. Again, I promised to answer them. I guess I don't promise that you'll like the answer, but at least I'll give you my thoughts. So leave questions, comments below if you'd like. I do have a question. I'm starting to send out more and more copies of my free book. Again, the free book's basically a look back at the 15 years from buying one house to having quite a few units, and how it led to retirement. So I just want to make sure that's out there and people are reading it and enjoying it. It's again free. It was helpful to write it, so I want to make sure as many people that want to read it. Something I will ask you is maybe with this one or another video that you happen to like is tag 5 friends and ask them to watch it. Also recommend that they subscribe. It's important to me to get after our goal of getting to 1,000 folks. We've had a pretty good week, frankly. We went from I think 120 to 135, which is a 10% jump. So thank you for that. But anything we can do to increase that, I would greatly appreciate it. And then the last thing, I think being interviewed by some relevant podcasts or podcasts that you all are listening to is something I could do to help the channel. So if you'd like, if you have a recommendation, please leave it below. If you happen to have connections to somebody who interviews, I'd love an introduction, right? And a recommendation would be even better. So anything you can do to help spread the word of this channel, help individuals out there that are looking at rental properties, I would greatly appreciate it. So in the end, that was my thoughts on the subscribers' questions. I think my gut reaction was the wife was right. However, I don't know the market and the actual extras being added, so it is possible that these are helping shorten the time to rent, so maybe they are interesting. But in the end, know that this is business. Any extra repair expenses you add that aren't necessary hurt the bottom line. So in the end, we're at 135 subscribers. I want to thank you very much. Go ahead and hit a like button, leave a comment, and always, if you like this video, share it with your friends and family. Have a great day.